Thank you for having me. Sorry, I tried to install it on my Surface and it's just been stuck on, I don't know if you can see, but it's been stuck on 90% for about 20 minutes. So
it's because you've got Last Jedi wallpaper and the Surface doesn't like it.
I don't like it either. It's for some reason it's like defaulted to the Last Jedi one, and I've got 500 of the wallpapers that it doesn't go through.
So it's stuck on that for you now. Stuck on Zoom, 90%.
Stuck on that awful memory.
I know. Thank you for coming on the Filmmakers Podcast, and I'm so sorry it's taken so long. It's just there's just so much going on at the moment, as you can imagine. But we wanted to just grab a few last interviews, including yourself and a couple in Australia and one or two more, because we've realised this is not a keepsake. What's the right term? Like a positive thing to take out something from this year, because this year's been pretty negative so far.
Yeah, it really has actually. Yeah, it really has. I mean, that was the whole point of me like making that. But yeah, it was just trying to find some positivity out of it, even though I was kind of, I don't know. I'll let you carry on before I go too deep into that.
No, I'm all ears, because there's no this is kind of an open forum more than anything else. There's not like a stock series of questions I'm going to ask you, but obviously I'll ask you about your love of slider shots, of course.
So the love of slider shots, I mean, basically I did a lot of work in the wedding industry, and a friend of mine who used a slider quite well, and after I tried it, I used to look at it and go, oh, that just seems like a gimmick to me. And then once I tried it, he let me use it once and I fell in love with it. So I bought one myself, and it's a 100 centimeter one. It's quite a long one.
Yeah.
And I decided when I wanted to make something for this year, and we're in lockdown, and I feel like I need to keep my creativity up. I want to use it. I want to make an entire film out of just wide slider shots, just really cinematic stuff, really simple, very minimalistic filmmaking, just to get my point across visually, rather than shoving it in the audience's face.
Absolutely.
With just a few seconds per clip. And that was the whole point of that. And I felt like I've chosen my style. I don't want to switch it up and do pans or do ridiculous like slow motion shots or anything. I just wanted it to be as real as possible. And the slow zoom in with the slider really, I think, emphasized what was happening in the shot.
Yeah, especially is it with your little daughter, that shot? We love that. Obviously, it appeared in the montage at the during the awards, because it was kind of the perfect moment, that and the clapping in your film, and it was shot really well. We really liked it. And
thank you. So,
those two shots in particular, and your choice of audio just on the clapping, I thought was really smart idea.
Well, that was actual. So that was 8 o'clock on a Thursday.
Yeah,
that wasn't like I didn't post that in. I didn't put it in the end. I timed it well. I just had everyone ready, and I said, "Mom," it was my brother or my mom. And I said, "Just guys, don't move." Everyone's clapping. We're like a bit higher up on the street than everyone else is, and you can kind of see everyone else blurred out. And their background noise of them clapping plus my mom and brother clapping as well. It really worked actually. I thought that was the whole. I just wanted it to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my daughter. Sorry, I might as well clear that up. That was my it was my brother's child, and it was
okay.
And it was actually her bedtime. I didn't stage any of that. It was just you guys do your thing. I'm going to film you. And then I'll go away.
Oh, sorry, I got mixed up with the beard. You see. But no, it was a really well conceived, and was it your mother or someone in the living room watching TV?
Yes, yeah, watching TV, and what the whole point of every shot was to kind of show that this is what our house is doing in lockdown. I think I put in the description that everyone's experience is going to differ from household to household, and this 100%. Is our household. This is what's happening at our house. If my mom was just alone watching TV, and it's more like what it's the little things that matter, such as like reading to your daughter, joining in with the clapping, which no one does anymore. But I'm glad I caught those moments as they were happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, your next door neighbor can be going through a complete nightmare, and that was one of the reasons we wanted to reach out to filmmakers, Chris and I, when we first thought about the festival, is trying to give people a little bit of focus. And obviously you can make a film, put it up online, but we wanted to be as inclusive as possible with opening up to everyone, because initially it was just between me and Chris. It was just an exercise of, we're going to have this perceived extra spare time, even though we work at home home at work. working at home, we'd have this extra time of not traveling back and forth between work. So why don't we create stuff for each other? And then I initially, I thought, oh, why don't we open up further, more of a festival? And then it kind of kicked off from there, really. And having a time capsule, that's why I thought continuing some of these interviews has been really important. It's not about making money, because there's no money. We're just a creative space. It's a real time capsule of these moments and creativity during this lockdown.
And it is kind of like a once in a lifetime thing.
Exactly,
this is not going to happen again, or if it does, it's not going to be quite the same, because it's just this quick shift from normality to lockdown. And my reasoning for making it, I didn't know about the festival at first, to be honest. Chris told me about it after I made it. I made it and I sent it to him, and he said, "You know what? This would be great. Submit it." And I didn't think you guys would actually consider it so well.
Did you know Chris before, or?
Yeah, I've known Chris for a while. I went to uni with him. I was in the SAE Institute with him.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah.
And I've worked with him on a few projects. On his Comic-Con project, for example, I worked on that with him for a little bit.
I've seen that. Yeah, that's great.
That was an experience. That was my first Comic-Con, and he took me to it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, and as I can see by your Sin City poster and your wallpaper, thankfully you're some nice choices there, man.
Oh yeah, so this wasn't originally my room. So this was my sister's room prior. So like you can probably tell by the row. Sorry, my room's a bit of a mess.
That's all right. Don't worry about that.
What can I do to make this more my room? And my brother had these old posters, and they happen to be some of my favorite films: Reservoir Dogs and Scarface. I don't know about Sin City, but I like it. It's a cool poster.
Yeah, the first one was great, especially when it came out, because the visual style in it is really slick. And then it took almost 10 years for the sequel to come out. So
9 years, yeah. That came out in 2014. Well, the first one came out in 2005.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I really like the second one, actually. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, they got everyone back. They pulled off the same style. It was a true sequel. And I feel like it's a very niche film, though. Not everyone knows, well, not people that I know anyway, but I think it's an interesting watch. It's a bit hard to watch for some people, maybe because of the very green screeny look, but it's on purpose, and I can never appreciate that.
Exactly, yeah. And especially if you've seen the first one, then it just, obviously it didn't financially do as well as it could have because of, the 9-year difference. And but some films have waited much longer and got better sequels. It's crazy how that can happen. But I'm a big fan of Rodriguez, not necessarily because of his movies. I do like a lot of his films. I really loved Alita Battle Angel. I really enjoyed that.
I haven't seen that yet, but when I think of Robert Rodriguez, I think of the 90s. I don't think of now. I think more
El Mariachi and that, yeah.
El Mariachi and Desperado, and I think one of my favorites, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. It's really great. I love. I
watched the show recently. Did you? I don't know if you've seen that.
I've
he
not.
produced
No.
It was an interesting watch. I don't know. I definitely movie first.
Yeah, that's a great polite way to put it.
It's not bad, actually. I'm not going to say it's bad, because it starts off really well. The first season is the first movie, and the rest just kind of, it tries to make it a show, and it kind of works. I guess the only redeeming factor is the Gecko brothers themselves. Other than that, the movie, I think, does it justice. It's fine. Just watch the movie, and then it's kind of like The Mist in that sense.
Yeah, that's very true. Whenever I think about The Mist, I think I want to see another Frank Darabont film, because
he hasn't done anything.
No, with what happened to him with Walking Dead, even though he's still got a credit on it, he got pretty much shafted by AMC. So, and he's an absolute, I think he's a genius, especially for Shawshank, and being able to help Walking Dead come into light, and that's still rocking, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, I've stopped watching it, but I was a big fan of the show.
I'm on pause. I always, and some of these shows that keep going, we kind of put it on pause, take a break and then come back 3 years later.
I might do that. I stopped after 8, I think, and I just
same as me.
I lost touch, and I was like, oh, this could go on forever, and let me come back to this when I feel like I need to watch zombie things again, because there's not that much media. I mean, there's loads of zombie media, but I don't think there's that much good zombie media. I don't know about you. What do you think about that? But Walking Dead's kind of
I'd agree
fizzled
with
out.
that. Yeah, I'd agree with that because I wouldn't say it's done because I think even like vampires, werewolves, there's still plenty of legs in the kind of the
Everything's
content,
been
its
done in that
execution. Yeah.
sense. It's more how can they make it? How can they differentiate it? Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm a big fan of practical effects or a mixture of practical effects. Like The Howling has got a great transformation, The American Werewolf in London. But then you've got a
Yeah.
film if you watch like Wes Craven's Curse, I think it's Cursed. I think it's called Cursed with Christina Ricci, werewolf
Right.
movie. It's got a lot of CG and it just doesn't work. You need Rick Baker or someone like that to.
It's a bit like that in The Wolfman, in the 2010 remake.
Yeah, it's a
It's kind of
mixture,
like
isn't it?
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a bit of a hybrid between practical and I think that was the last movie that Rick Baker, Oscar-winning makeup guy, did American Werewolf in London in terms of the practical effects. It's the last movie he worked on because he had so many notes from studio telling him how to do his job and this should look like this, should look like that. But he didn't have a problem with the director. I can't remember who that is, but he said it was a good experience working with the crew and the director. But when he was getting notes, because obviously there's a lot of money being spent on effects as well as his makeup, he just right, I'm done now. And now he does
Yeah.
his own small independent stop motion thing.
I
So
mean,
yeah, a mixture is important, I think, and because you need to be able to believe what you're seeing. And
of course, yeah, definitely. Because I'm trying to think of like a good example now myself. I think a good example that I like is I think my favorite zombie movie of all time is Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 remake.
I love it. I love it.
I feel like I think that is to me anyway, the best zombie movie I've ever seen in terms of taking it really seriously. I didn't actually like the original that much. I felt like it was more of a comedy, the original.
Saying that, I didn't realize it was James Gunn that wrote the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Was it?
Yeah.
I just saw Zack Snyder all over it. That's all I saw, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that was the first, I think it was his first movie,
It was his
studio
first
movie,
movie,
yeah.
yeah.
So
And
it
since
was,
then, I've become a huge fan of him. And I'm not going to slate him for any of the recent movies that he's done. I still like them all for good reasons. I know they
well,
have some
he
faults.
got, I don't know who it was that died, was it his wife or his mother or something that made him to
I think it was
part.
his daughter or something. I think for Justice
Yeah.
League.
So
And
you
all
can
I can
totally
say for that
understand
is,
stepping away from that, yeah.
I'm glad he's making his own cut though. It's taken us a while, 3 years,
Yeah.
4 years
A
nearly.
friend
But
of mine's in it. And I asked her about,
what?
she plays the Russian mother in that house that gets rescued by the Flash, the mother and
Really? Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. See, that
So
was a scene that was added in afterwards. That was a Joss
yeah.
Whedon thing. That wasn't supposed to be there, and that scene was added in to add a bit more family to the film.
Yeah, so I've asked her. She still can't talk
She
about
can't talk
if
about
she's
it.
been removed or not. Yeah, I've asked her about it, and it was so. I said to her, "What the hell was that like?" And it's still at that point she couldn't talk about the production. So I need to speak to her at some point, maybe like in a forum like
Yeah,
this.
just sneak us some information. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if the reports of Whedon's, how there's mixed reports about people working with him, whether it's positive or negative, but a lot of people love him. A lot of people there's rumors about being negative on set or whatever. But I'd love to know how that experience was because it was the biggest movie she's ever worked on, and she has like at least 4 lines of dialogue in it. So for a giant movie like that, it must have been amazing. Because when I went to the cinema, she said, "Look out for the biggest movie in this particular month. I'm in it." I'm like, "What the fuck?" And then I looked at just this, no chance. And she's been super
That is
smart.
amazing. I don't know.
Yeah,
How do you know this? How did
I've
she
known
land
her for
that?
years. I went traveling around Europe before I started university, and a friend and we stayed at this campsite in Amsterdam, and then there was a group of Polish girls that were there, and she was one of them, and then I've been friends with her since. So we talk about film. She told me about Kevin Spacey and all of that 6 or 7
Wow.
years before it came out.
She
She
have her
told
own
me,
experience? Did she have her own?
not personally,
Not
but she
personally.
had
Okay.
acting friends that came out and said, basically, she told me about Kevin Spacey years ago. It was when England were playing Poland in the football match, and there was mixed fans. It was a great atmosphere. And I was talking about her. She worked at the Old Vic at one point, and she said, "Oh yeah, the creative director said, yeah, it was Spacey. I love Spacey." And then she paused, and then she told me about her friends. I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy. Years later, when it came out about that actor from Star Trek Discovery that was at that party, I can't remember the actor's name who plays the main engineer in Discovery, Anthony Rapp, I think it is.
Right.
So he came out and said about space experience when he was a young boy and all that, and then it all came out. I messaged her and I said, "You are absolutely right." She said, "Yeah." Sadly, I was, and all the actors, there's so many people live in fear because he's such a huge icon,
Yeah, I
And
think it's so sad, really, because
I'm devastated. It's devastating. It really is. And she said to me, "Yeah, expect at least another 20 people to come out about it." And what happened a week later? No, what happened a week later after
at the
that initial
time, right?
announcement?
Okay.
20 people came out from the Old Vic.
It's such a shame because I think I've liked him in so many other films, and I'm never going to discredit his work. I don't want to discredit his work. I like
Doesn't
him
it feel like a sword experience now when you watch anything with him in?
It is now when I have to kind of explain to people that this guy doesn't exist anymore, and I'm like, this Kevin
He doesn't
Spacey film,
exist,
like,
yeah.
he's just been wiped off. It's like WWE just wiped him off, like they do with some of their wrestlers. It's like it's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing that he's like doesn't exist anymore. But you can't erase him from movies like Seven, or
my personal favorite, LA Confidential. He's in
LA Confidential '97. Yeah, that's a great movie as well.
Oh, mate, I love it because I always forget how the plot works because it's so complicated. And then when I watch it, I go, oh yeah, I'll remember. I forget over time, and then I go back to it. So it's such a new
I need to go
movie
back
each
to it.
time.
I've only seen it once.
Of art. It's a work of art. It really is. The writing is incredible.
It's a shame because it's more of a shame because how he was in the same year. I mean, Baby Driver was a great movie, and he was in it, and I was like, I only just saw this movie a few months ago, and now this news has come out, and I'm just supposed to feel completely differently about him. And sure, yes, I should, but at the same time, I just think it doesn't discredit his art that he's produced over the however many years. He's even in See No Evil, Hear No Evil, 1989.
I know, yeah.
And I was watching that recently, and I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. Just to look, I can't look at this actor in a different way. I don't want to, but I have to.
Do you know the problem is that very conversation, that point you just made? I think about that in a very instantaneous way when I see him on screen. So I'm taken out of the film by my thought about the situation. So that's the real difficult thing to.
It is a difficulty because if I want to show somebody a movie like Seven, and I have to kind of keep it to myself to think, I don't want to. I want to let them enjoy the film before I break their heart and say this guy doesn't act anymore because he's a horrible person or whatever. But
yeah, there is a problem with. I do believe in innocent before being proved guilty. I really do, because cancel culture now, especially since Spacey, like there's, I'm a big fan of a lot of online comedians, American comedians, and there's one recently, Brian Callen. He's been accused of something he did 21 years ago, and there's no legal action. There's no recourse for him if he's innocent. Do you know what I mean? So it's incredibly difficult to balance these things when we're supposed to not follow them or not like them anymore. But with Spacey, it was so much. It was so much. And it happened around the same time as Weinstein as well, so it's crazy.
Yeah, it was huge timing. But yeah, go on, carry on.
Yeah, terrible timing if you're doing the same, to shit like Weinstein, fucking hell. Sorry, pardon my French. But yeah, I don't know where that tangent came from. That's just me. But yeah, it's been a crazy time, and I was so happy to receive your film, man, because it looked great.
I was very surprised. I actually haven't seen. This is a bit of gonna make me look bad now, but I haven't actually seen any of the other Isolation Film Festival films, and I didn't see the montage, so I didn't see any reception or anything. I'd like to get a link for that. If
I will send you those. I'll email you. There's 2 or 3 pages on the official site. I'm still continuing to add content, and eventually we'll add all the films available, so you'll be able to see all the films that are submitted.
Great, yeah. I'd love to see what everyone else has been up to, because I didn't make the film to be a part of a competition or to.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you right now. I know, absolutely, but we were just happy to make people feel welcome. Do you know what I mean? That was our purpose.
Yeah, I did feel welcome after you guys accepted me in, because I didn't make it for that purpose, but I feel like, wow, okay, so maybe I am making some sort of a difference. I actually got interesting texts and messages after uploading that initially,
That's great.
saying one person was saying, "Why don't you make one in the NHS? Go in a hospital and make exactly the same thing you've done now. Just make it there." And
It's
show
very
that
difficult, isn't it?
that's difficult. It's impossible. That was a person from the NHS asking me to do it,
Really?
and even
That's
they knew
amazing.
how
Because
impossible it was.
it was because of your non-judgmental. It doesn't matter what your personal politics are. It was because of the wide shots you were using. There was nothing like BS and overly flashy, whatever. The shots are really nice. That's what's not flashy, but it's really well conceived and well executed. But it's that compliment of being at Cell. You should go into the NHS and do something like that. It would work in a hospital. Do you know what I mean? It really would.
If I got the permission, which never happened, but
Yeah.
it would have been great. Or a different person's household, or whatever it may be. I think
Exactly.
it's just to get that experience across of what it's like.
I'm going to show you where your shot is in the live event we did.
Oh.
And then I'll send. You can just go onto the site. We've got all the 2020 winners and the 2020 honorable mentions. And the reason I say 2020 winners is because we're doing this next year as well. Let me find the share screen.
I have to up my game then. Originally this started off as it actually started off as a horror project.
Oh mate, you know I've launched a horror festival. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about there's huge news about that. Right. Okay.
That was my original plan, was to make a horror movie with that style, just at home because of how empty it was, and then
do it. It's like the end of Halloween. Brilliant.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this is the current website. So we've got all the 2020 winners. So these are all the films. We've got honorable mentions. We had 3 incredible guest judges, you know that, for the festival.
No, I actually, you know what? I feel like I'm embarrassed myself now.
We had a guy called Vance Burberry for a cinematography award, and do you know Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses?
Yes.
He was a cinematographer on that video. And he's worked with Alice Cooper, megastars, everyone. Garth Brooks, Jay-Z, he shot for everyone.
How did you get that?
It was pure, like, it was to do with black magic and my liking of black magic design. And I follow him, he follows me. We chat every so often, and then I send him a message request. He's based in LA. Then I interviewed him. I asked him, spur of the moment, during the interview, right, would you like to do this? So yeah, great. And he was super enthusiastic. He was a complete dude about it. And then we got a company called the Directors Duo based in Munich, and they worked on Ant-Man for Peyton Reed on one scene. They did the entire scene. They did when the Yellow Jacket is announced. They did the whole CG sequence for that.
So when they show the sequence of it being used in war and whatnot.
Yeah, they did all of that.
Yeah,
and they work with Feige. They spoke to Kevin Feige and all of that. So they came on board as a judge, and they worked for Audi and Blackmagic Design and all sorts. And then I got a podcast called Nerd OD based in the UK, and I know 1 or 2 of them, and they did the comedy awards. So, and the Directors Duo, they chose best film. We didn't choose it as a festival. They chose it, and they went through. Okay. We sent them 10 films, which we deemed, like the top notch, and then they picked it. And the same film won best cinematography and best film.
It's amazing. So the fact that my film got seen by these kind of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing, man.
I don't know if it won anything, but yeah, that's. Well,
wait till I tell you about the horror festival and who's doing that. That'll blow your mind. So I'm going to show you this. You'll definitely have to submit something. Okay, so we're doing the podcast like you're on now, and we filmed 20. This is 22 that we've released, and then yours will be, I think it'll be like number 30, something like that, because we've got a few more in the pipeline, and then we've got poster art coming as well and some extra stuff. So. This is a record. I don't know why I'm pointing. You can't see my hand.
It's all right.
On the right hand side, this is the opening for the festival.
Yeah, I can see the cursor, so it's fine. Just wave that about.
So So can you see this black screen?
Yeah, of course I can.
And the audio should be playing. I'm going to show you. You'll see your shot in this opening sequence.
Wow, made it to the opening sequence.
Yeah. We put every
That
single
really gassed me.
film in it. Did you see your shot?
I did see my shot. I was very happy. You know what? What made me most happy about watching all of that was just seeing the creativity that everyone came up with. Everyone had so many ideas and so many different styles of doing things. And whether it looked like it was shot on a phone or a camera or a really high production camera, it didn't really matter. It was getting across that creativity, and that was really enjoyable. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for showing me, and thank you for hosting all this.
Yeah, no problem. That took 6.5 hours to put together. trying to pick the not the best shot, but what would make the most sense in terms of the whole point of editing is making little stories, connective little bits of tissue here and there.
Definitely.
And that was a key one, because that was like family and children and how children are coping, that kind of thing. Even though obviously kids don't necessarily realize what's going on if they're really young, but that shot you did, I think that's the best. That and the clapping, not because it was on the nose with the NHS or whatever, but it was the choice of not having anything with the audio, having the audio in that shot. I debated for a few minutes when I was putting that all together, going, which shot do I put from this film? Do I put the shot of the child going to bed, or do I put the sequence of the clapping? It's difficult, and just imagine that for 105 films.
and they're all a minute long. They're all a minute to 3 minutes long, I think.
One is technically much longer, but I put the shot in the film and in the sequence anyway. That was kind of like, and we had a bit of flexibility. If it's 3.5 minutes because of credits or whatever, then I allowed a bit of flexibility. And it's been a lot of fun. And the guest judges and speaking to people like yourself, Ali, and many other people, it's been awesome. Like speaking to people from New Zealand, Australia, Colombia, USA, Canada. So it's been completely crazy.
So it's been worldwide.
Yeah. Even that, because we've got no huge marketing push or anything like that. It's just me and Chris. And
But
the amount of
that's a strong
admin,
force, you and Chris.
yeah, the amount of admin I've done for this is insane. Because imagine emails from 105 people, and we've had, how many emails have we had over the last week? About 5 or 6, something like that. Well, imagine that on a scale of 105 people. It's been
Yeah, and I
mental.
have to curate all that as well. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it is amazing what you guys have done. It's amazing what everyone else
you
has
should
done. And
honestly. This is not going to benefit me in any way. You should absolutely watch. It's only an hour and a half. That whole show. It showcases the best films, and I'm not going to play. I would play you the one that won best film, but watch the event.
I
Chris
think
is in it.
I would watch it and get my own opinion.
Yeah, you'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. And you get everyone gets this. Every single producer of film gets credited at the end. There's a whole massive credits we put together as well. And making sure we spell everyone's names right.
I think you called me Al. I think in the emails quite a few times. Like,
oh, did I? Sorry, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just interesting. But yeah, thank you for including it as well. And thank you.
Yeah, your film was great, man. It was, and the first thing I liked was it was very British as well, or very because it felt closer to me and Chris in terms of the clapping and all of that, and the sense of community and what your family was doing. You executed it really well, and
well, I started from the outside in. I really wanted to show. Well, it is. I think the way you described it before was perfect. The time capsule of it. The initial
absolutely.
thing that I remember, one of the earliest shots, because it took about. I did it over like the space of a month, waiting for different moments or thinking of different moments that I could include. There's a lot more that I cut out, and some of them were like, the empty streets. That was really eerie to me. And I made sure there was shots of empty streets. The shot in the park is one of the opening shots. I think it's the guy just standing in the front of the water. That was not none of the shots have been staged. So that guy was just standing there, and I filmed him without asking him.
Yeah, the good thing with that is
I liked him standing there. I liked the way he was looking out at the water, and he was alone in that shot. And it was this aloneness that the film has. And what was very personal for me was the montage of myself. And I stood my camera up in the corner of my room and I said, I'm going to film myself. And a lot of that was 100% real. It was just, it was 100% real. I felt like all I do, my routine now, is kind of going through a soft phase of depression, I'd say.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
So it was me, what do? I wake up, I do my bed, I sit in front of my computer and I go on the phone, and that's all I do. And then I go back to sleep and just rinse and repeat. And that's what that montage was. It wasn't just some sort of cheeky cameo that I wanted to do. It was more like, this is me, and this is me right now in this situation. I wonder what it's like for other people. But for me, it was just this very generic routine that I felt like I wasn't doing enough, and making the film sort of helped me get out of that. It was like, this is what I could be doing a lot more. I could be making something creative, and I could be working on other things and trying to stay creative.
Yeah, but your brain is firing off on all cylinders when you're isolated at home. It really is. I find it difficult adjusting to working at home, and I was in a lucky position where I still have my job as well. Do you know what I mean? So it was
my job went out the window.
Yeah,
I'm a freelance photographer, videographer for weddings, and all of that went out. All of that went out the window. Yeah. So I was stuck home, just in a constant state of post-production. I started doing YouTube gaming videos. Why? Because I had the time, and just to waste time and just record
to distract yourself.
Just distract myself. Exactly true. I actually enjoyed just putting a crappy video together online and being like, hey, part one. I ended up finishing Alien Isolation that way. It was my first time playing it.
I can't finish Alien Isolation. I can't finish that game.
I felt like, you know what? The only way to do it was sitting there in the quiet with my headphones, and that's the only way to complete it.
I'd end up having a heart attack or something. Do you know what I mean?
You know what? I mean, no shade on that game, but you can game it pretty easily. I noticed as I was playing, you can trick it quite well. Don't use the gadgets. That's what's your downfall. They encourage you to use things, but they're the things that ultimately draw the alien to you.
That's a great tip.
If you just wait in the corner and listen left or right, if it goes past you, you walk, and don't use any other. You don't use anything else, and you'll finish the game. That's pretty much it.
I'll go back to that because I'm so jumpy, because I do love horror as well. We'll get onto that in a sec. But yeah, have a look at the website, man. Honestly.
Yeah, I will. I definitely
the winners and the honorable mentions and watch the event. It shows shows all the winners. It shows all the honorable mentions. It's only an hour and a half, but it's a lot of fun, and the broad range of the kind of people that are submitting and that we're so proud of it. I'm very, very proud of it, but I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing next. Just a little bit of marketing.
Yeah, go on.
But I launched on Saturday. It officially opened for submissions, the Hellbound Horror Festival, and we've got 3 absolutely stellar judges. One's a writer called Ramsey Campbell. He's been writing horror books for 50 years, and he's seen at the same level as H.P. Lovecraft. We've got an artist called Dave Kendall, who draws for 2000 AD. He's doing a lot of Judge Death and Judge Dredd stuff at the moment, and he's worked for Blizzard doing. Basically, if you've played any Blizzard game in the last 5 or 6 years, you've seen his artwork. Yeah. That's how well he is. Then. And we've got director Alex Proyas, who directed The Crow and Dock City. He's one of the judges as well, and it's phenomenal to get these people on board. And
what you need to tell me is what are the requirements? How long does it need to be? What is
Let me show you.
I can check myself. I mean,
so we'll make this a little bit more interactive. I should just quickly show you this, but we'll talk through it. So this is the website for the festival. And so basically, it's 1 to 10 minutes. And I put this little montage together. I'll show you. It's only 57 seconds, but I'll show you this one.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Can you hear this?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Got a real connection with indie filmmakers, and that's who we're kind of aiming towards, really.
Yeah, there's some awesome movies there. I saw a bit of. Was that Knowing? Was that one of the last?
Yeah. He directed that.
That was Knowing, yeah. And love the use of iRobot. I don't know what the connection to horror.
Yeah, he directed. Well, it was The Crow was the big thing, really, and a friend of mine told him you should contact him, and I was a big fan of Dark City, especially. Just tonally, it was very dark, and thought he'd be great. And he's very independent spirited, even though he's worked on giant movies and with massive actors and that. So he's one of the judges. They'll be watching the films, which is amazing.
That is amazing. I'm gonna have to think about this now. I might go for the same style. I might have to go for the slider again, but I don't know how to.
No, it's good, man. Whatever, if you can, that'd be great. So it's 1 to 10 minutes this time. So we're allowing. You don't have to. It can be a minute. You know what I mean? So there's no.
Yeah.
There's no like, we'll pass further judgment on it because it's only a minute. There's none of that. We're all fair. There's all complete fairness to it and open-mindedness. So it can be any kind of film. We just had a stop motion about alcoholism for the festival, and it's really well made. Where is it from? It's like New York or Florida, something like that. And it's about the demon around you that makes you drink, and almost like something that lingers over you, has your hand on the shoulder. And when he goes to the A&A meeting in this short film, all the other people have demons behind them, coaxing them to drink, and it's amazing. It's a stop animation just on that, and we had that. We've had 5 submissions since Saturday, and for something that's got no backing, no financial backing, we're stoked. So this is all me. This is all me. No one else is working on it.
What about Chris?
Chris didn't want to have anything to do with it because he's too knackered from the last one.
No, you should be more energized with the next one to make it bigger and grander.
Well, that's what we're going to do next year. So we're going to be working together next year on the Isolation Film Festival. But I love horror, you see, and this is a bit of a passion. And what did I just get now? I just received this in the post about half an hour ago. So I've got the new not the new Candyman, but it's the 4K remaster, down to 1080p for the Blu-ray. So it's the Arrow Video one, yeah. So I got
I've
that.
not seen Candyman yet. I'm looking forward to the sequel though, even though I haven't seen the original. I actually
it's a
looking forward
remake.
to the
As far
remake.
as
Yeah,
I'm,
remake. Sorry, well, I think it's going to be some sort of spiritual successor.
oh yeah, I think you know what? You're probably right. If Tony Todd
I,
appears as a different Candyman or something, I'll be happy. But yeah,
I think it will be a straight sequel. Like,
I think it's written by Jordan Peele,
they'll
isn't it?
pose it as a it is, and I think they'll pose it as like a remake, but really it will have some connection because there's already a bit of lore for them to go on. It's a bit like The Thing, I guess, in that sense.
Oh, I love The Thing.
And you know what? I like the second movie.
I do like the second movie.
Not afraid to say that.
Biggest issue with it is the director got screwed and not having to using the CG instead of the actual monsters. That was the biggest issue with it.
That aside, I feel like it is still a great mystery movie.
Yeah,
and I watched it. If you haven't seen the original and I showed someone the new thing, they'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool." They wouldn't look at it like, "What's with this weird CGI?" It's only because of how much the '82 movie shits on it for having that practical.
Yeah, massive shits on it. Yeah, and I love Carpenter, you see, and getting someone like, because I was a big fan of Proyas he's not done a huge number of giant movies, but the movies he has done, visually, the style, I really enjoy Knowing as well. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, Knowing is an interesting film. I feel like it's a bit too interesting. I feel like it goes in some directions towards the end.
I totally agree. And a friend of mine worked on that I went to university with. She worked in the special effects department for that.
Right. Okay.
So it's been this weird full circle thing with Proyas, and I interviewed him. I interviewed the other two judges as well. So we're going to release those interviews at some point.
I feel like if I was to make something, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I feel like if I was to make something for this, knowing what I have around me and what I have access to, I like my realistic pieces. I don't. Everything I make is very grounded in reality and almost gritty as well. And I feel like I'd make something maybe like The Gift. I think I'd go for that kind of style.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, something that's not blatant horror. It's more like
like psychological horror.
Psychological horror, yeah. It doesn't have to be a killer. It doesn't have to be shock horror or jump scare horror. I think this scares in what's not normal in reality, and I think that's what I'd like to play with. I think if I was to make something for
if you did, that'd be great. I love that, and we're accepting 1 minute film review. So if you wanted to do that, there's a bit of a growing community for what we're doing as well. So we're doing that. We're receiving loads of cosplay photos, so we're going to do a cosplay showcase on the website as well. All horror based. So it's a lot of extra work after work, but it's been a lot of fun as well.
No, but it is a lot of fun. You're getting a lot of engagement from a lot of very creative people out there, and I'm really appreciating that actually, because I'm not alone in this. When I made my film, I was like, I know I'm not alone in this, but I feel alone in this. I just feel like I need to do something about it, because I know a lot of people who weren't doing anything. Whereas I feel like I wish I told them, say, look, make something, as silly as it might be, just whatever, make something.
Agreed, yeah.
And you guys have pretty much given people a platform. I feel like I should spread the message is what I should do.
Yeah, really appreciate that, man. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's been a completely crazy time for everyone, and it's complete. That's one of the main reasons I was happy doing it, because it was a focus for curate, like you said, curating the content, and we've brought on 2 or 3 people as part of the team for that festival and this one. And it's been really interesting. And I don't think I would have done it if lockdown hadn't happened. So you know what I mean. I'm grateful in one way that this has happened. No, I'm not grateful that this has happened. I'm grateful that
I know what you mean,
found
though.
Focus. You know what I mean.
I think that's the case with a lot of people. I think in lockdown is that it's made people think about what they actually want to do, what they're actually doing in their lives, and that was partially one of the reasons why I made my film. Was what am I doing with my life, and what is my family doing with their lives in lockdown? And we're not doing anything. We're watching TV, and I'm just doing the little things in my room or whatever. My brother's reading to his daughter, and the kids are just I think the unaware aspect. I did that on purpose with them playing on the swing and on the trampoline. It was the naivety of it. The streets are empty, but these but the kids are still enjoying themselves and doing their own little routinic things.
Yeah, totally agree. That's a really good point, and maybe that could be a stepping off point for a great film. You know, like the naivety of that, and as a coping mechanism for people that realize what's going on. You know, finding creativity, that could be a great start to a film. You know, and we're nowhere near coming out of this, nowhere near. And I wanted to do something, not necessarily on my own, but I wanted to do something that was more like not a different interest like this. Obviously, the whole site's black, for instance, you know what I mean? And the Isolation Film Festival is all white because I wanted a complete separation in terms of the kind of content. And I wanted to give people 10 minutes as well because it takes so long to make horror, especially with the effects I've seen on some of the films.
Yeah.
Like we've got a couple of films we received. The budgets must have been high, but the execution of the story is key thing, because whenever I talk to someone, you know, story is paramount in the end. Like your story in your film, what you captured was perfect, really, in many ways. And
thank you.
It was, I think there's a shot of your film in the, Chris put together a sequence of, sorry, my shot's going a bit too dark now.
No, it's all right.
It's like that spaceship's come over from Independence Day. You know
what I mean?
That's how it feels. And Chris put a sequence together of like heartfelt, kind of reality-based content, and we received some great films like that. There's one called Mothers that won an award, and it was about a woman coming back into the UK, and she's looking after a very young baby. And it's only a minute. It's only a minute long, but it's like, wow, something she found focus. She's a gaffer on TV and stuff, you see, and she found focus like yourself and a great creative outlet.
To tell a story within the minute as well, about something quite like a strong subject like that.
Exactly.
It takes quite the imagination, I think.
Like how long was your film? Was it 3 minutes?
It's 1 minute.
Is it 1 minute? You got a lot into that. You got a lot into that, yeah.
It's a huge montage, is what it's all it is. It's just a 1 minute montage of what was happening around me.
Yeah.
And I made it a minute. Originally, I made it a minute. Luckily, it qualified, but I made it a minute just so I could fit it on Instagram. I wanted to spread my word about lockdown, and that was the only reason why it was a minute. And you know, I didn't want to go on IGTV. I just wanted it to be simple, easy for people to watch, and get my message across as simply. Originally, I actually planned a voiceover, and I just felt the shots do all the talking. I don't need to do any voice.
I don't think it would have been like Blade Runner with a voiceover. It wouldn't have worked the same way.
It wouldn't have worked. I tried, and it didn't work. And I feel like the only audio that really worked was the clapping, like you said.
Oh,
everything else
was so on point, yeah.
And the music.
You notice that when I put that montage together of everyone's films, there's only 2 pieces of audio. It was the fly moving the piece on the board for Monopoly, and that's an award-winning film. Now it's things a fly could do in isolation. It was really well made. And the other bit was this girl that's obsessed with peppercorns. And she's twisting the pepper out of the pepper thing. She's laughing maniacally. Yeah. So it was in a very similar way what you've done with that sequence, is adding the audio, the clapping, especially for people in the UK. Was it a worldwide thing? Was it happening in the US and Canada?
I'm not sure if it was, but it was something that was on the news quite a lot. That the UK is coming out to clap, and I think it was one of the last few times where everyone on the whole street actually came out to clap. And I was ready with the slider there before 8 o'clock, thinking, I've got to get the shot, right?
Got to get this shot, yeah. That was that's a wedding mentality, that, isn't it? Got to get this.
And I think I did it about 10 times, just going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Until
how long was that
like.
slider?
It's 100 centimeters. So a slow pan, you can get
That's pretty big, isn't it?
10 to 15 seconds maybe from it. If you do a really slow push.
Is it motorized or pushed?
No, it's pushed.
You can't tell. You honestly can't tell. That's the best compliment I can give you for that, because it looks like a motorized slider.
No, there's no cheating involved. I did it all myself.
Yeah. Chris
That's
needs to learn from you, like.
He's seen me work. I think he's seen the way I work, and you know what? I have an appreciation for Black Magic as well. I've only shot one thing on it, but I loved it and I remember it so fondly.
Well, that's what I'm using now. I'm using it with an anamorphic adapter because I'm filming stuff for the other festival in anamorphic, which is ridiculous.
It was for my short film, when I had access to Blackmagic. I said, I'm going to use these. I'm going to use these properly. And I used 2 of them at once. I wanted to make sure that, I think we had a 4K and we had a I
Production
can't
one or
remember
something.
the production.
The
There was
big
a
one.
production 4K, and then we had the Ursa.
The one that,
And
which is the one with the massive screen. That's a production one, isn't it?
the Ursa.
That's crazy.
We had that. I remember it was one of the guys. He had it on his shoulder. I made him do over the shoulder shots with him, like to handheld shots with that on his shoulder. I said, "You got to do this now." And we got some great stuff with that Blackmagic. I filmed. We did some pretty dangerous stuff as well. I think with that, we had it like sticking out of my mate's car, filming a motorway shot.
Jesus.
And I was driving the other car to get, because I was essentially the main character as well. But I was directing this piece, and I had my friend who's not a filmmaker, just a local friend of mine, holding this very expensive camera out the back of my other mate's window, trying to get the shot at 60 miles an hour on the motorway. And the things you got to do to get the shot, and the Blackmagic, just it's a beast of a camera though.
Yeah, it's great.
It has its own look that you can't compete with. I mean, I tried to do it with my Nikon, and it's not the same.
That's the reason I switched to it, is because I wanted something different. It's not that I wanted something better. I wanted something different.
Yeah.
And from the bits I've shot, and yeah, it's been being able to mount so much on the Micro Four Thirds, and it's worked out really well for me. And there's so much to it, and I was really happy. And Vance Burberry, the cinematography award guy that was giving the award out and choosing that film, he shoots on Blackmagic underwater on the pockets.
Wow. That is amazing.
Like there's the biggest country music singer, Garth Brooks. The last music video he shot was for him in a swimming pool, and he was getting direction through a cable underwater whilst he's shooting on the Pocket 4K. And he was telling me about all that.
How would you do that? How would you do that? I mean, underwater. What is the technique for that? Just putting it in a box?
He runs his Hollywood dive school, and that's what he does outside of doing music videos and movies and stuff. He works as a diving instructor for cinematography, which is incredible.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought it was just like a makeshift way of doing it. But yeah.
Oh no, he's like so proper. It's like I think his handle on Instagram is Vance310. He's a really nice guy as well. And he also, which I found this out before the interview when I spoke to him. I asked him about 2 things. He worked on the restoration of Jaws and the restoration of Dracula 1931. I was going, Jesus Christ. Tell me about that experience. How was that?
Tell me about that, yeah, because we've got the restoration on Blu-ray, and that's a flipping.
And I said to him, what was it like? What was it like working on that? And the first thing he said, you just realize how it was one of the most, he said his most stressful thing he did was handling the original negatives from Jaws and from 19, because it was all like white gloves, that kind of thing. And it was multiple films, obviously, reels, and they were mastering the best physical film reel. They cut it all together, and then they transcoded it. And he says it was an unbelievable experience, and he's shooting behind the scenes of it as well and working on the restoration. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, it was unbelievable.
How do you get? I want to know these people.
I know. It was big. He's been working for decades now, and I was asking him about Sweet Child of Mine. How was that to shoot that? And he was saying that he was telling me about the different takes and all of that, and it was like, oh my, so music to my ears speaking to the guy about it. And we've been very lucky with this new festival as well, and because I love horror so much, and getting an author that was the mentor of Clive Barker, who created Hellraiser. He's one of the judges, and Dave Kendall's artwork is unreal. It's super dark. It's real horror, and I'll email you a few extra links as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see all this. Yeah, I'd love to see all this. So you, just out of curiosity, what do you think is the best recent horror that you've seen? Recent, and I'm talking.
Okay, most recent that I've seen that has horror elements that I
really
really enjoyed.
More like what you really enjoyed. What you think is top notch.
Oh, let me find it. Let me find the name of it. Oh God, it was on.
I know my answer for this.
I pay for Shudder. You know Shudder, the TV
Oh yeah,
series channel.
is it? Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm aware.
I need to sort my light out. This is ridiculous now.
No, it's not a problem.
Let me turn another light on.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'll try to keep everyone entertained. I don't know who's watching, but yeah, charge my phone to be honest.
That's making me look a bit pink and purple now. That's fine.
Right, you look great, man. You look great,
anyway,
always.
I'm shooting in RAW, so I'll sort that out later anyway. And that, so most recent in the cinema that has I'm going to say horror elements. I know you said horror, but it was The Invisible Man. I loved The Invisible Man. I thought it was great.
So, I haven't seen that yet, and
It was
one of my worries for not watching it. I have a lockdown story about that. I went to go watch it, and it was the day before lockdown, and it was open. There were cinema times on the website, but the minute we went was the minute they said we're closed now, and I didn't get to watch it. And I just missed my opportunity.
It's really like, I thought, oh, it's from the perspective of someone that knows The Invisible Man. And like, if you watch the original, like Claude Rains goes crazy, you know, taking the formula, having it. And it's a science experiment in the original.
Don't spoil it, because I do want to watch it.
No, have you seen the original, the 1930s one?
No, I haven't, no.
You've not seen, watch the original and watch this one. You'll love it.
My original comparisons were with the 2000, with Invisible Hollow Man. And I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this because I feel like it's just going to repeat a lot of the same things.
Invisible Man is work. The original is genius. The effects in the 30s were genius, but this one is the reason to watch both is because the original is from, you see all the characters, you see the Invisible Man from his perspective, but this is the perspective from someone that knows him in the universe, not the Invisible Man. So I thought, how's that going to play? And when I watched it, I wasn't comparing it to the original. So it's a Blumhouse film, Bloom Pictures, what they're called, and they do great horror like Get Out and all of that. And it's great. Absolutely watch it. It's worth buying if you buy Blu-rays. It's really, really great.
Yeah, we're huge Blu-ray collectors.
Oh mate, I used to be addicted. I've got a massive poster collection as well. I used to be addicted, but I've got to curb that because when you move out and oh my god, it's just like I've got no floor in there. I need to get the carpets.
We've slowed down recently, but when Blu-rays came out and we were like really early on the PS3, we jumped straight onto 1080p and we jumped straight onto Blu-rays. And everyone was like really weird about it in 2007, 2008. I'd have friends who'd like take the mick out of me. I'm like, well, it's better. Why would this doesn't make any sense?
It's better than it's better than the Blu-ray. The 1080p that you get on Amazon, Netflix, or Apple, because the compression it's already still compressed.
Yeah. I was watching Jurassic Park recently, not Fallen Kingdom, The Lost World, and that on Blu-ray looks extremely clean on the Blu-ray version.
It's amazing, yeah. Like the restoration of the original as well. It looks amazing.
I think one of the best Blu-rays I've seen is like, I'd say Seven and Fight Club look like they were only made a few years ago when you watch them in Blu-ray.
Yeah, that's when Fox puts an effort together for Fight Club in, because the original negative was probably looked absolutely stellar and it shot really, really well. Whilst you tell me what's your favorite, I'll look for this film. I need to tell you what it's called. What's your favorite kind of current horror?
I think the best recent horror I've watched, and I can pretty safely say, was The Haunting of Hill House.
The series on Netflix.
Yeah, the series on Netflix. God.
Like when the beauty of something like that. This is when I was watching. What was it? When I was watching this film, I can't remember the name of, with Mrs. Vicky. I spotted something she didn't see straight away, and then that chill sent me a chill, and she went. I was like, and she went, "What's going on?" I said, "Didn't you see that in the background? Didn't you see that?" And it was like someone's legs, like all the statues in that series.
Are they statues? That's what I love about the show is how subtle it is. It's horror without showing you. It doesn't have to get a jump scare you. It doesn't have to. It's going to show you it's horror, and you're going to be scared by what you're seeing, or you're not. Or you're just completely terrified of what's not there because you're constantly looking around, going, "What is going to be in this shot?" And I think that's some of my favorite horror. And
was there Was there a second season? They filmed the
No,
second season, right? They have film
haven't.
one, but
I'm not
not
sure,
a
but they haven't
sequel. But
released it.
it's a different story. I think it's got
Yeah,
some
but
of the
it's
same
not come out yet.
actors.
It's not come out yet.
The film I recommend, and I've gone to look really white now, is called Host. It's about seance on Zoom.
Right. Okay, I've not seen that.
It's a Shudder exclusive, so it's like obviously Netflix exclusive or Amazon. It's only on Shudder, but it's really good. It's about a group of friends, all women, and they've come together for this seance because someone lost someone, and a lot of disbelievers in it, that kind of thing. But and obviously it feels very Blair Witch, it feels like found footage and all of that, and there's that unfriended dark web.
Yeah.
But Host, my missus, we were both skeptical. Oh, this is going to be a load of rubbish. What's this going to be like? When we watched it, and the way they executed it, and they used technology in terms of, you can change your backgrounds in Zoom and all of that, and you can have something moving or whatever, or have video in the background. There's loads of little technical elements to this film that I thought were really clever, and I thought, oh, that's going to be cheap. But when it was executed well, we just loved it. We seriously loved it, and there's a lot to it, and that kind of hokey nature of a séance, but in a very modern way. It was, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it.
I think speaking of séances, the other example that I'd probably compare it with as another recent good horror flick was Hereditary.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Ari Aster.
That was a great movie. I remember watching that in the cinemas, and I've never seen it in the cinemas where I've had a physical connection with everyone in the room, and everyone is sort of whispering to their partner or whoever they're with, going, "What the fuck was that? What did I just see? What was?" I think the scariest shot in that movie that really freaked me out, and it was really early on. And it's not. I don't think it's intended to be so weird and scary, but it's a shot. It's a really empty shot of she's about to leave a room. The lights are off. This is the moment at the start in her little room where she creates all those houses.
The dioramas,
Yeah, the dioramas. And she's about to leave, and then she stops for a second, looks over to the right, and her mum is just standing there, like really faded. And you can't.
I had chills thinking about it. Yeah.
You can't just you don't see it at first. Your brain looks at the scene because it's just an empty shot of nothing, and you're looking at it going, wait, there is something there, and then the lights go on and there's nothing there. And I remember everyone whispering to each other, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah, I loved how it ended and how he became spoiler alert for anyone that's not seen it.
Oh, sorry,
I'll
guys.
probably bleep this out or whatever. But when he becomes like the king of hell or Satan's knight or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Genius. I loved it. I just lapped that up. And I really enjoyed his, and especially that shot of her hammering her head on the loft door.
Oh yeah. That was weird. I remember that was a trailer shot. That was like
I find that funny
shot.
because when I find crazy stuff, I find it funny sometimes, and I loved it. Have you seen his newest one, Midsummer?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen that.
One of the darkest films, and it's got large. It is a horror. It's like horror like Wicker Man. It's very grim, but it's
Is it similar to like Mother?
I've not seen Mother. I know the one you mean, but yeah, it probably is tonally wise, and the score is just as epic as Hereditary. It's the same guy, and it's the same instrument they used for that. And but yeah, Hereditary is really grim, but it's enjoyable. It's really enjoyable. I'll never watch it again. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. But
I did watch it again when it came back onto Netflix. I was like, you know what? I've not watched it since I watched it in the cinemas.
Yeah,
give this a rewatch, and I still was like really weirded out by it. But I actually saw the signs a lot clearer. I saw a lot of the film's elements a lot clearer. The first time I watched it, I wasn't 100% sure. I knew what was going on, but I didn't look at, watching a film back. It was quite the experience actually, looking at it and going, right, this sort of makes sense now. The mom breastfeeding her, the grandmother breastfeeding her daughter, and how she didn't want her. Yeah, she didn't want her to be a boy. She goes, I think she mentions it herself. Sorry, I'm like muddling my words. That I was meant to be a boy, and that's how it eventually goes up to the son, because they wanted a man. And it was kind of like they wanted It's like he wanted her to die, so he could get into a new body, and that was kind of the point of the film. It was just the way it was made. I feel like the plot is actually very simple.
It is really well executed. It really, really is. Ari Aster, the director, is super talented, and more power to him. I hope he just keeps making movies like this, because I love, all kinds of films, as I'm sure you do as well. Like, simple stories, family stories, reality-based stuff.
Yeah.
But then I love absolute chaos as well. And
yeah, that's what happens to Mother. I don't know, without spoiling it, it goes from very simple to you trying to figure out what's going on. It's got a very kind of biblical side to the movie, but the movie
absolutely
literally descends into chaos. And when I mean literally, I mean you'd have to watch to find out. It's quite grotesque at the end.
Yeah, in Hereditary, is she cutting her own? She cuts her own head off in the loft.
Yeah, so that scene that made me laugh. I know what you mean by some of the horror just makes you laugh, kind of because of how ridiculous.
Because it's survival. I think it's a coping mechanism. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like that's not real. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's just her doing this over
it's
and
a
over
simple
again.
Motion. It's not over edited. It's not over edited,
Yeah, and then you just hear a thud. You don't even need to see any of the, the head coming off or anything like that. He jumps out the window after seeing that, and then you just hear the thud afterwards. Yeah. And some people might not just pick up on that, but I picked up on it. But it's the subtle things that filmmakers do that they want you to notice. You might not notice, but it is all on purpose. It's not by accident.
No, definitely not. And let's hope we get back to enjoying movies in the right kind of way. I still believe in going to the cinema in that, because giant movies belong in the cinema. I think every kind of movie, because I love leaving the cinema with friends or missus or whatever, or with kids or family, and then getting that buzz, that experience. It's like going to a proper event.
Yeah, sometimes you have that connection, not just with who you're with, but kind of with the whole audience. And we all just watched this film, and we all had this moment. I mean, the easiest one to talk about is, Endgame. Captain America.
That was
the easiest one.
When you've seen all of them, or when you've seen a majority of them.
Yeah.
I think you and I have probably seen all of them.
Yeah.
But when that moment at the end with what happens to Downey Jr. and all that, and Cap. The greatest moment in that film was the Cap with the hammer and all that.
With the hammer,
spoiler alert for no one that's seen it, but everyone's seen it.
You should have seen it.
That was the biggest fanboy moment in my life, really, because that point it totally overtook Star Wars for me in terms of an experience in the cinema, not with a legacy, but everyone in the IMAX that I watched it with in Ellesmere Port, it was like
everyone gasps and everyone went mental, and everyone. But that's the unity that the cinema brings sometimes. I mean, I can understand why.
Absolutely. Like you said about Hereditary and Couples and the vibe, you feel connected to everyone in the screen.
Yeah, and I feel like that's an art that shouldn't die, and hopefully it doesn't. I don't think it will. I think we're a way out from that. But there is still a certain charm to going to see the movie, not just watching it, at home or whatever. Even if you have an amazing system at home.
Exactly. Like I've got a really good system. But there's no way it doesn't. No point. You don't compare. You can't compare. Like
no.
I love the new Mission Impossibles. I've been a big Mission Impossible film, but since 94, 95, whenever the first
96,
one came out. 96, and it was amazing. Brian De Palma did a great job, and then Chris McQuarrie did amazing work the last couple or so, and I was almost devastated when they stopped production of the newest because he's doing them back to back. I was like, these films better happen. Obviously, they will. It's Tom Cruise, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I know what you mean.
Like that cannot be experienced outside the cinema properly. Like him on a plane,
no, of course not.
Or him on top of the
Burj Al Khalifa. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that cannot be experienced the same way. Like I watched, what was it? Avatar. I love Avatar. I know a lot of people bash it, but I loved it. And
I like
that in the cinema. In 3D IMAX,
it's not
unreal.
The same as watching it at home. Yeah,
no,
it's not the same.
No, I'll never be able to experience that again.
Not that movie. Yeah,
and that's why I went to see it 5 times like a nutter. And then when it came out there, I was at like some sort of extended version. I went to see that a couple of times as well. Yeah. And you can't experience the same way. But things like Host, like I watched on Shudder, it's not an advert for Shudder, But when we saw that, it was the perfect movie for home, and obviously it would have worked in the cinema as well. But it was a Zoom thing. There was, problems that I had audio issues like at the beginning of that. They have all those kinds of things, and it's not hokey. It's a good stepping off point, and it was a good story in the end.
Well, Tenet's coming out soon, and that
is it coming out? Is it really?
Is it though? Yeah, I guess so, because there was advertisements for it recently on Instagram. I was seeing IMAX advertisements. So yeah, it's coming out definitely this month, this date.
I will do anything to go and see that. If I have to go to Manchester or Bradford IMAX to go and see it, I'll do it, because he's a genius. I
want to try and book my ticket actually for Printworks. I'm definitely going to go. That's my local. That's where I'd go for IMAX movies.
Yeah. Like the Manchester IMAX is the best one in the Northwest. That and a couple of others, because there's only 5 real IMAX cinemas in the country.
Yeah, there is, and there's a few fake ones which I have seen. I mean, the Trafford Centre one.
Are you Manchester? Are you Northwest based?
Yeah, I am. I'm in Bury.
Oh right, okay, yeah, I know Bury, and like the one in Printwood, the one in the View in the centre of Manchester is the best one for me.
That is the truest one. The one we actually watched. I only watched one in the Trafford Centre, and it was Transformers. It was the last night.
Yeah.
And we watched that in the IMAX, and that was awful in Trafford Centre, because it wasn't a true IMAX screen.
I looked into this because I'm like a massive fan like you. And when I looked into the whole IMAX, and it is technically an IMAX, but it's not the true sense of it, because it's retrofitting big screens, and IMAX is a brand that's sold to these cinemas, or they fit the screens. The IMAX come in and fit everything in the screen in terms of sound paneling and everything.
Yeah.
So that it's like THX thing,
It was.
And when I found that out,
experience.
Exactly, I went to the BFI IMAX to go and see Interstellar. I went to London to go and see Interstellar because I wanted to get. I was meeting a few friends in London anyway, and I thought I'll go and see. It's a single screen cinema. It's just the IMAX. What an experience that'll be. There was loads of issues with it, and the actual film, the 70mm print, the IMAX print split, and they actually put the digital version on, and they took it back 5 minutes, which you can't do on a film print, because I used to work at cinema. You can't reverse film. It goes onto these giant reels.
Yeah.
And and then they put the digital print look better.
That's so bad. I was seething. You should have got a refund,
I'm not. Every single person, they took the film back 5-10 minutes when it snapped, and everyone got a free ticket. Everyone got a refund or a free ticket.
Okay.
And because I went downstairs, right, when the sound went out of sync half an hour into the film, I was saying, "You do realize the sound's out of sync?" I wasn't like a not. I wasn't like, "Oh, I used to work in a cinema." I wasn't like that. I said to them, "The sound's out of sync because audio in a cinema is run, as far as I was aware back then, it was on a gold disc that's sent with the reel, and it's synced with the film sound that goes down the side of the reel. It's out of sync, so it can't be out of sync. It is out of sync. It's a non-digital presentation. It's out of sync." And he goes in, he obviously walks out, and they check it, and it's resolved. I don't know how they resolve it. I really don't. I think they stopped the film. I can't remember. I think they stopped the film and they got it back in sync. Have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah.
When the reveal of Matt Damon.
Yeah.
I'm not saying spoiler alert because everyone should have seen that as well.
That's a huge spoiler. Yeah.
Was it 2012 or 2014? 2014. So and when that happened, or when it's like the thing opened and Matt Damon came out, everyone, that's when it snapped. That exact moment.
Oh man.
I was so angry. I went downstairs saying, "What the fuck is happening? Get your ass."
That is some bullshit.
It's supposed to be the best cinema experience in the country. Bullshit.
Well,
if you go to London, go to Screen on the Green. They've got a bar at the back. They've got proper sofas. It's amazing.
Right.
But cinema is super important, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. I actually save IMAX movies. I don't. Some movies I feel like should be watched, but I actually save my IMAX experience for films that I feel like are not big enough in the sense of budget or anything like that. I think big in scale. So the last I made sure I watched Godzilla in IMAX.
I loved it. I loved
I
it.
made sure I watched Godzilla. I watched the first one, and then I was so excited for King of the Monsters, and I made sure I watched
How
that.
can people dislike that? And the reviews are poor for it. Like,
I don't
it's a
like. I
great
loved it so
movie.
much. It's such a great. It's such a fun filled.
Like,
And watching that in IMAX
score,
was like amazing.
storytelling, the cast, Bradley Whitford and everyone else.
There was a few problems with it. I will admit. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I
character,
love
of
how
course.
much I hated Vera Farmiga's character. I hated her.
Yeah. But I hated it. I mean,
We're meant to
I
hate
don't
her, though,
mind.
aren't we?
I don't mind hating characters when we're meant to, but I hate hating them when they are literally making ridiculous decisions and it makes no sense. And I don't care what scriptwriter you are, but if it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense like that, it really pissed me off actually.
And what I found quite refreshing for that film was Charles Dance's villain character, which you're meant to believe he's the real. He's a normal guy. He's sensible.
He
Do you know what I mean?
anything.
He's got these certain convictions. That whole thing with Ken Watanabe though and Godzilla in the place that's full of radiation is a work that is such an emotional moment where he's like lying with Godzilla. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. I mean, only if you're a fan though, and it's a shame that I don't think it's cancelled, but it was supposed to happen in March, the next movie.
Oh, it's still happening, yeah.
It's still happening, but like it was supposed to come out at the end of this year, and I don't want to wait so long, man. These movies don't come that often. I don't get to see Godzilla and King Kong on the screen that often, ever.
I think it's if they release it now, if anything gets released now, I heard that the Russell Crowe's Road Rage movies, Unhinged, I think it's called, is supposed to be coming the first big film to come out in the cinemas. Like, the cinemas aren't even open. Like,
some of them are.
Are they?
I'm pretty sure Trafford Centre's cinema is open. And
I quite like going to. I do like going to cinema when it's quiet.
I think it is open. Also, what's interesting is a drive-in cinema. I tried that recently.
What was that like? What did you watch?
We watched Rocketman, and
okay,
it was just they're not showing new stuff. That they're showing stuff probably from the last year, and then even older stuff. They've shown all sorts of like Willy Wonka was on, and you know what? That was an interesting experience. So the sound was completely out of my car, and luckily it wasn't raining. And you have to kind of get a good, I say seat, but you have to be really early to get your car right at the front because there's no just picking a space.
I agree.
You line up, and then they put you in a position, and it's just based on luck.
I totally agree with that. Yeah,
it's quite an experience. I don't know. I'd say try it once and then never again.
I did it once. And you know how, did you have to tune your radio in?
Yeah.
I did this years ago in Liverpool along, if you look at the map and you go from the docks, because obviously you know Liverpool.
Yeah.
And when you go north of that, there was a car park spot. I think it's where Everton are going to build their new ground.
Right.
And they had a thing there. We tuned in the radio and it was the biggest pile of shit because it's tuning my car stereo in. Or the car stereo in to hear the music, which is, it's an interesting idea. In the 60s and I think it's 50s and 60s, you used to put a speaker on the side of your car and it was all cabled in. The sound was awful. It was so bad. And that's one of the reasons I didn't like it. I'm not sure what
What
was your experience like with the sound?
Completely fine. It was actually, we actually left and we parked in like another car park. It was in the Trafford Centre, so it was another, it was one of the side car parks in Trafford Centre.
Yeah.
And we went to another car park just to park up and like take a break from it or, go to the restroom or whatever. And the movie was finished and we were quite a distance away and we had it still tuned in and it was still as clear as day and we had no problems with that. Unfortunately,
that's interesting. Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah.
The screen quality wasn't great. It felt like there was a few frames missing. It didn't seem like it was fine. I mean,
they probably blew it up, didn't they? Past the edges of the screen.
Not even that. No, that was fine because it was all digital. But it was more like I feel like there was a couple frames missing. It would judder, but my eyes towards like 10 minutes in it adjusted. I feel like it was
a playback issue.
No, maybe. No, I don't think it was a playback issue. I think it was just the crappy screens that they used, to be honest. I think
was the screen, there was no projection, was it actually played?
No, it was actually playing
like an
on
LED or something.
It was like a big billboard. That's the best way to describe
you know what?
it.
It's probably a refresh rate.
TV.
It's probably a refresh rate for the screen wasn't fast enough, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it might have been because it looked like it was just a billboard on the side. It was a billboard on the side of a bus. That's essentially what it was. Right. But you know what? We were close enough and we got over it and the sound was fine. And, sound in a movie that is all about music kind of had to make sense. And it was
You
fine.
know what? That's a great point. Well, even like action or something. Like you've got a broad range of subtlety with
Yeah.
sound and visuals,
So
like
that
light and
comes in with
shadow.
that matters. That depends on what your car is. If you've got a shit car with no sound system, then you're out of luck. Or
Yeah,
even without a sound system, if you've got a decent enough car system in the car, then you'll be all right. You'll feel some of that bass as well, because some of that matters in an action scene, for example, where
yeah.
you've got to feel that rumble. But if you've got a completely flat car or some sort of rubbish car, I mean, sorry if you have a rubbish car, but yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not going to enjoy it as
yeah.
much
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
unless you have.
it's definitely not the way to go because it's still not good enough. Basically you need like a coliseum for cars and have the screen massive. It's the only way to do it.
See, that's what I thought it would be. I didn't think it was just going to be a double-decker
Was
bus with a screen on the side.
was the screen too small as well?
No, we were close enough, so it was fine.
Okay.
We were fortunately right in the middle. I was so lucky because the car, sorry, like going off on a tangent now, but like the car before, the guy that went in front of us, he was directed to the side. So we were the second lane of cars and the cars were sort of arched
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that car was told to go to the side. And for some reason, he wasn't told to go in the middle. Whereas there was one spot in that second lane left and we just drove in there. And they directed us to that seat. So we were right in the middle, just the second lane, and that was completely by chance. And
So
only then it's worth
it's
it.
not like you can pick and choose.
No. I don't know about other companies. I've only been to one, but there's basically a huge queue, and they tell you where to go. And that's it. And they say
Oh, can't do that.
they say come early, like they say come half an hour early to get a good seat. But really, we were about 45 minutes early, and there was still a fucking load of cars. So coming about an hour early is probably about the safest. It's probably the safest bet. We were still the second lane.
That makes me miserable queuing up for something else like that. You know what I mean? But now,
In your
like
car.
the local cinema in Ellesmere Port, it's a view, but they've put all these comfortable recliners in now, most of the
Right.
screens, and yeah, it's The Invisible Man was the last thing I saw in the cinema, and it's devastating that I've not been to the cinema for this long. This has been the longest I've not been to the cinema forever.
What was the last thing you watched?
Oh, the last thing was Invisible Man. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm losing my
What
mind a
was the
little
last thing you saw in the cinema?
bit. Birds of Prey.
Was that any good?
That was actually all right. I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, one, it's R-rated, thank you, and two, you know what? I was impressed by Harley Quinn. I like Ewan McGregor. I liked his buddy Zaz. Was a great character actually. I like the way he played him, the sort of sadistic prick.
Yeah.
But that's kind of about what he is. I guess that's what Zaz is as a character. I don't know if you know any of that kind of.
No, not much of that. No.
He was in one of the Arkham games, I think.
Okay.
You might recognize him from that. He's like an Arkham inmate.
I've played all of
kind
those apart from the last one.
Wow, the last one's great.
I know. It's just time, man. It's just time.
Fair enough.
That's what
But
it comes
yeah, that
down
was the
to.
last movie I watched, and it was pretty good actually. We had a lot more movies lined up, so I watch every Marvel or DC movie at midnight, and Star
Okay.
Wars, I guess. So we made it a thing. Like a few guys that we have, we make sure that we're at
Yeah,
the
I love
midnight
it.
showing for like a Marvel movie or a DC movie or a Star Wars movie.
But those
Uh,
Star Wars movies, I tell you what, we'll chat again about those because I'll go on for another couple of hours and rant about it.
I'm ready. I'm ready now. If you want to
No,
go,
I can't. I go into a vat of
don't have the
depression.
energy.
I don't have the energy and I don't have the patience to waste air on massive missed opportunities. Massive.
Yep.
The biggest in cinema.
The only thing I'll say, and to keep it brief, was when I went to watch Last Jedi, the excitement was real, and the cinema was packed. It was a midnight, and we're only in Bury, and it's this little small town, but the excitement was real. People dressed up. I had my gay Star Wars jacket on. I loved it, and I had an R2D2 jacket, and I like as I got up the stairs, I was like humming the tune, and people joined in. It was really like this
Yeah.
cool Star Wars moment, and it was packed out. When I went to watch Rise of the Skywalker at midnight, it was barely full. There were so many
Was
seats
this
available.
opening weekend?
Opening night.
That's bad.
And I was so disappointed because for Last Jedi, they had an R2D2 there, they had a C3PO there, they had Jedi's there, and stormtroopers there for you to just take pictures with, and it was packed, it was full, it was Avengers Endgame level full. But then when Rise of the Skywalker came out, the atmosphere was completely dead. Nobody
It's
was there dressed up.
because I allow Abrams. I gave him complete leeway, and there's a whole. I'm not going to go into it because honestly, I'll go on for hours about it.
Another day.
It was just I felt
betrayed
in a really way. I felt like I'd just been cheated on somehow, been cheated out of the films I was meant to see.
Yeah, cheated out of the trilogy that we were supposed to get, or that they teased in the first one.
It soiled it anyway.
Another day. We'll have another discussion.
I'm so annoyed right now. We got from great positivity to. I think movie fans, right? If we speak long enough, it always goes back to how much we hate the new Star Wars films. That's what it always goes back to. I think
it's a shame. I mean, I don't hate all of them. I'm not going to say I hate all of them. I actually really love Rogue One, and I genuinely have a lot of respect for Force Awakens. And I quite like it a lot.
There's a lot I will allow for that because it, copied a lot of stuff from the others. But yeah,
I say fine, copy, but at the same time, it did it in its own original, regular way.
It felt like Star Wars.
It did, and it was a new chapter for Star Wars. I feel like they were like, yeah, I'm interested to see where this is going to go, and then we saw where it went.
straight down Armitage Shanks. That's where it went. Straight down the toilet, yeah.
Oh shit! Straight down the pisser. Yeah, no, we won't talk about that. I think we'll have another discussion.
We'll chat. Maybe if I'm going to do some sort of horror thing, so we'll chat on that.
It makes sense because it was quite horrific what we saw. Oh
my god! I've got these flashbacks. It feels like something happened in my childhood. Yeah, it is. It's cinema. It is. It really is.
Cinema PTSD. Oh my god.
Oh my god. The worst thing. I know one worse than that was Indiana Jones. That last Indiana Jones. I hated it.
I don't think that was as worse. I don't think that's worse. I think Star Wars is way worse. How they fucked up so bad.
I know. It's.
I kind
feel
of
betrayed, right? You feel betrayed.
You might hate me because I like the latest Indiana. I don't hate it. I liked a lot of it. I know why people don't like it. I'll be like, okay, fine, but I still enjoyed myself. Yeah. Whereas when it came down to Rise of the Skywalker, I didn't enjoy myself, and I was looking at my screen going, "What the fuck?"
I'll tell you my reaction. I felt completely betrayed. I felt betrayed, and that's where we'll leave it.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, that'll be the quote for the episode. Talking about betrayal. That's what it comes down to, the caption for it. Ali, this has been great, man, and we'll definitely.
Yeah, no worries.
And if you want to submit something to the horror festival, then Hellbound Horror Festival on.
When's the end date? Just last thing.
1st of October is last submission date. So it's got 2 months.
2 months, sorry, yeah.
The 30th of October, the day before Halloween on the Friday, if there's enough films, it'll justify like a live event, and we'll do that. And you'll have, there's a possibility of. Prior senior film as well, so that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah,
and,
cool, man.
Check out the host if you can find it one way or another. Oh, if you've got Amazon Prime,
yeah, we have.
You can get Shudder for a week free trial and cancel it.
Oh, is that through Amazon Prime?
Yeah. It's one of the channels, so you can sign up for a free trial for 7 days. What's called Host. It's really well executed, and check that out.
No, I will definitely check that out. That sounds pretty cool. I've always looked at the adverts come up on my YouTube all the time for Shudder, and I'm like, this looks good. I want to watch some of this stuff, like some true horror stuff.
Yeah, don't do what I do with some of those channels though. Make sure you cancel it within the first 7 days.
I'll be cancelling the minute I sign up. I'm cancelling it.
Yeah. That's the smart move.
That's what
then it says, you got a month left. Yeah, I know, or a week left.
Oh, that's what I do with my EA Access. I mean, that's how I played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order so quick. I got Premiere for the 15 quid, completed the game and cancelled my subscription. I was like, yeah, I got the new game and completed it for 15 quid.
Amazing. That's the way to do it. That's the way to play these games, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to pay 45 quid, 50 quid for that.
Oh, it's like I want a new football top, but I'm not going to do that because it's 65 quid. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. But
Well,
nice one for having me, man. I'm really happy.
yeah,
That
it's really great
this
to chat to you, man. And great to chat
yeah,
movies as well. And
I
it,
could talk
it
movies
was
all day, talk
it
games all
was
day.
it was so cool, man, seeing your film. And I think you did an absolutely stellar job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And your little niece was a little star in that shot, that one, the shot that went into the montage. And
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send you an
Thank you.
email either today or tomorrow with a few extra links and
No
to some
problem.
extra
No
stuff
problem.
as well. And yeah, have a great day, mate, and
Yeah, you too, man.
enjoy whatever you watch tonight. What are you going to plan to watch tonight?
Oh man, what am I watching tonight? Oh man, I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race at the moment.
Oh my God, we need to talk about that. Which one? The
You want to see
Canadian
it?
one, mate. I'm a massive
No,
fan.
I'm watching
Massive.
I'm catching up. I'm new to it, so I'm on. I watched it in a really backwards. Sorry, we're going
Oh
off on
mate, it's
another tangent.
amazing. It's amazing.
But I watched 5, 6, 7. Then I watched the British one.
You need to
Then
go
I
back to
watched.
the American one as well.
Then I went back and watched 1, 2, and I'm on season 3 now.
Oh mate.
So
mate.
like I'm catching up with all the queens. It's all entirely new to me, this type of thing. But I love it.
It is like
I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not
it
ashamed
makes
to
you
say
give
I'm
it.
watching
It gives you kind of real open mind. It really does. And
really does actually, and I really appreciate their sense of humor as well.
oh yeah, I love the bitchiness.
They're really self-aware though. The show is so self-aware, and that's what my favorite thing is about it. That it knows it's being this cheesy, dumb thing.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, right? The newest, because obviously you've got All Stars, which is amazing. You've got Untucked, which is the behind-the-scenes thing. You've got the Canadian version, which is okay, and the British one, which is amazing. I think amazing because it's so like
that was amazing.
The Rue Peter badges. Whoever came up with that idea was a genius because BBC obviously don't do sponsorship, whatever. But it's not a spoiler. But the newest season, which is the regular American show,
oh yeah, is that 12?
Finished recording this year during the pandemic, and you think to yourself, how did they do that?
Oh really?
It's
Okay,
genius.
I didn't know that.
It's really clever, really well produced. And so yeah, the last 4 episodes or 3 episodes or something was during the pandemic, and you think, oh, they couldn't have shot it in studio, so what do they do? It's really it's amazing, and I'm so glad. Yeah, we'll definitely be chatting again.
We've got a few discussion points now. We got
massive, mate. Yeah. Star Wars can do one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Nice one. I'll
awesome.
talk any time, man. Anytime. Just
definitely. Well, I'm sure we'll do some sort of podcast recording thing for YouTube for the horror festival. So we can go off massive tangents about RuPaul as well. There's a thing called Dragula, which is horror RuPaul kind of thing. But it's really bad. Don't watch anything apart from the newest season. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Dragula.
Right.
But yeah,
that doesn't sound good. But yeah,
it's not great. RuPaul is a rock star. I love RuPaul. So yeah, I'll see you soon, man. And keep in touch. And I'll send you those links either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll check it out and I'll get back to you about it. Nice one.
Top man. Have a good day, mate. See you later.
You too, mate. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.